What's happening now won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about altered states. Ooh.
I gotta be honest, I kind of wish I was in more of an altered state watching this movie.
Okay. So this month we're doing a little something different with our horror.
Yeah.
We're doing like more thinking man's horrors.
Yeah, it's funny because technically this and everything we're doing this month is considered quote unquote body horror.
Yeah.
But I realized while watching Altered States, this and Invasion, both are really more psychological.
Yes, and I think Altered States is one of the only academic horror thrillers that I can think of.
It's the only horror movie I could actually literally call snooty.
It's totally snoots, but it's I love it. I don't know. There was something about this movie. When I was a kid, I really liked it because of the special effects. I didn't really understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I was in college, probably from the things that one does in college, I found
You mean do homework?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. My studies. I had a newfound appreciation. My friends and I did. We enjoyed it. I really appreciate the conceit. I really appreciate the searching for primal man, for like what is the beginning of life.
What are the
answers?
What's the very base of you?
Sure.
Yeah.
William Hurt's character had a lot of religious visions or dreams as a kid, and then once his mother or father died. Father died. He denounced God and didn't have any more visions, but he was always obsessed with religious
iconography
and religious experiences. And so I guess he was trying to, I guess his thesis was let's find what the origins of man are, and let's come face to face with God if we can.
It did, and again, I like to consider myself to be a relatively smart person, but it did go from the religious stuff to the suddenly now I'm an ape man, and I just didn't get the bridge in between.
In my opinion, and I'm no genius myself, but in my opinion, it started off that way because if you look at the history of man, man was dominated by religion. Time.
Yes.
And as he regressed, there was no need for religion because as the man becomes more primal,
pre-religion,
sleep, sex, poop, urges. I
guess that does make sense. If you're looking for like who your quote unquote true self is, you always start with religion because it is such a huge part of modern society.
Yes.
But then, you go further back. That makes more sense. See, you just explained it. Why couldn't they have done that in the movie?
Because Ken Russell is an asshole.
I think Paddy Chayefsky is...
No, you're right. Paddy Chayefsky. And also, I have a huge soft spot for Ken Russell.
Oh, yeah. He's fascinating.
Ken Russell, he has a huge obsession with D.H. Lawrence. He's adapted 5 of his stories. And honestly, nobody does D.H. Lawrence like Russell. I mean, he really gets him.
Yeah.
Because he's a wackadoo, too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a marriage made in heaven. Lair of the White Worm is a fun movie.
Yeah.
But there's something about Russell. He's just such a weirdo. And he is an unapologetic weirdo.
Yeah.
And this is really the only time that he had the chance to make a Hollywood film, right?
Yes.
And he made the most of it, in my opinion.
He did. He definitely did, yeah.
I don't think it's a perfect movie in any stretch of the word.
No.
I think it's the ending always perplexes me because for such a science-based movie, the fact that love conquers all is the message is kind of weird, and it kind of just all of a sudden William Hurt's like, I love you, and she's like, neat, and then credits. All of this,
the whole movie,
all of the crap he had to go through
was just him
to appreciate Blair Brown.
This is what it was about, a guy learning how to love,
I guess,
and everything else was super. It was all, I don't even know. I mean, I can't say all of it was in his head because the Monkey Man did murder 2 people.
Oh yeah, but no, he hurt them. He didn't murder.
Oh, they didn't die.
No.
Oh, I thought they died.
He beat them pretty badly, but they didn't.
Well, but you're forever going to be the guy that got got beat by the monkey man. Yeah.
Well, it's a good story to tell at the Christmas parties.
Yes,
but
as you're trundling around in your wheelchair.
with
monkey
your
man, monkey man.
traumatic brain injury, and you can't. I have a traumatic brain injury. As you just heard.
I just heard it. Yeah.
Traumatic brain injury. I don't think it all happened in his mind. I think it all happened because we have witnesses.
Yeah.
You know, Balaban.
It's a phenomena. And my favorite character in the whole movie, Charles Hayde. God, he's so great.
Charles Hayde is another one of those character actors that I just love.
Yeah.
And I also just love the fact that he pivoted into directing.
Yeah.
And I was very happy to find out that he's still alive.
Yeah, he's around.
Spoiler alerts!
The funny thing is, except for William Hurt, I think most of them are still alive.
Nice.
Yeah.
I also really love movies like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and this that are intimate movies.
Yeah.
Got like 4 people.
Very, very focused on. Yeah.
And what's going on in the outside world doesn't matter. How this affects the outside world doesn't matter. It's it's very much about these characters and what they're going through.
Yeah.
And that is always the most effective for me with this kind of film and horror film.
Yes. Yeah.
Is the more intimate it is. Like that movie we watched with the 4 characters a couple months ago. The horror, the liminal movie, with the
the Beach House.
Beach House, Beach House.
Yeah,
that's another. I love that movie too.
It's focusing on a small group while there could be something much more epic happening.
Exactly,
but it's just focused on how it's affecting. These
people.
Yeah.
Seeing the invasion of the world through 4 weirdos.
Yeah.
4 very normal people. Let's say.
Yeah.
Except for Jeff Goldblum's character, who was not that normal. Kipner! But, and then this, too. You have these academics that are going through something that's literally what's groundbreaking, which is...
It really is, yeah.
Basically discovering the origin of life. I mean, he devolves into a single cell.
Yeah, he becomes essentially the
natural
energy of the world.
Yes, the first,
the thing that started
first cell of life.
Yeah,
is what he is. And the primordial stew and ooze, the cell popped out, and it was William Hurt.
I really thought she was going to end up going into the whirlpool, like the whole time she was down there, like the whirlpool going.
Yes,
I thought she was going to go into it, and then she didn't.
Well, I mean, there are a few things that are weird. Why did she turn into Lava Lady? I mean,
it was such a cool effect. Though.
Very cool. And that's the thing, too, is the effects are really weird. And always at the end, when he's that weird kind of mutated blobby guy, it always reminds... Did you ever see the movie Basket Case?
Oh, yeah. It
always reminds me of the little basket case
He's
guy.
The little
adorable
half lump of nothing.
Little lump of nothing.
That murdered so many people.
Oh, I love that.
We're definitely going to cover basket case.
But anyway, so this movie really... In college, my buddies and I really enjoyed it. We really liked the idea of devolve, using sensory deprivation and all this to kind of, devolve into the origins of man. So to the point where I had this college course about pseudoscience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounded like the coolest course. Oh, you're going to study, ancient civilizations and UFOs and Bigfoot. It was the most boring teacher, the worst teacher I've ever had. The worst teacher I've ever had in my existence of academia, and took any bit of fun or this is not a course about Bigfoot and aliens. This is a course about thinking and how to think and debunk these ridiculous myths. You will not have any fun learning about these things. When you read Twilight of the Gods, I want you to read it with a clothespins on your nipples so you don't enjoy it. I mean, he literally made us wear clothespins on our nipples. Anyway, he didn't. But he was awful. Worst teacher ever. And made this class, which could have been the most fun class, just a chore. But we did have this project at the end, and my friend and I did sensory deprivation tanks.
Nice.
So I did, as we go on, I'll talk about my experience with the sensory deprivation tank. But anyway, let's get into it.
Take yourself back. 1980.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, 1980 was a good year. December 21st, Jean Hilliard, a 19-year-old resident of Langby, Minnesota, survived hypothermia that had lowered her pulse to 12 beats per minute after more than 7 hours collapsed in temperatures of less than negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. After a car accident the night before, she had walked 2 miles to the house of a friend and fell 15 feet from his front door and was frozen solid by the time she was discovered at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Jesus.
Taken to the hospital at Foston, Hilliard was wrapped in an electric heating pad after her temperature was too low to measure, being below the 88 degrees Fahrenheit lower limit of the hospital thermometer. She revived, however, and told reporters later,
"At worst, I may lose a couple of toes."
it's just insane. Like, she should be dead.
I think I remember seeing this story on either Ripley's Believe It or
Yeah,
Not, or
that
Amazing
sounds-
People,
yeah, that
or
sounds right.
Real People, or something. Because it was a fascinating story.
How did you... number one, the fact that she was 15 feet away from her friend's front door. Number two, that she lived at all is just insane.
She's got a great heart, apparently. I mean,
yeah.
it's all, maybe she had some insulation. Maybe she was a little heavier or had some extra something. I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird.
I'm not a doctor, Adam.
I missed the hypothermia day in doctor school, so yeah.
Yes, your infamous days at doctor school.
Yeah. December 23rd, 2 Pakistani children, a 7-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl, were killed when they fell from Saudi Arabian Airlines Flight 162 after a tire on the L1011 TriStar landing gear exploded.
Jesus.
The blast caused a wheel cover to tear a hole in the cabin floor at an altitude of 29,000 feet. The jet was flying over the Persian Gulf from Dhahran to Karachi. In the sudden depressurization, the 2 children were pulled through the 1-meter-wide hole and out of the airplane and fell to their deaths. The crew of 20 and the remaining 269 passengers landed safely in Qatar.
Could you imagine being the parents of those kids?
God, that's awful. Awful.
Oh, my God, just 2 little kids.
Just 2, that's it. My kids. My kids are the ones that were sucked out the plane. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's all part of God's plan, Adam.
God, I can't even...
No, it's horrifying. It's horrifying.
Yeah, awful.
What a great story.
Yay!
Thanks for sharing. Oh, Jesus.
December 24th, Corvettes, the original discount department store chain, closed the last of its stores. At its height, Corvettes had 50 stores in New York City and other U.S. metropolitan areas after opening its first outlet in 1948 with prices much lower than any of its competitors.
Yeah, it's Corvettes with a K, by the way.
Yeah, Corvettes with a K. By the end of 1980, it had declined to 17 stores, and by the complete end of 1980, it closed entirely.
Weird.
I've never heard of Corvettes before.
Well, it's an East Coast thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. But it was one of those, it was apparently the original department store. I had no idea.
Well, since it closed for good when you were 2, I'm going to forgive you for not knowing about Corvettes.
Yeah. December 25th, Altered States is released in theaters. The best Christmas movie ever.
It really was.
Altered States.
It's a feel-good movie.
I mean, technically,
I guess at the end it is.
The last line is "I love you." Yeah. So the film had its origins with a meeting between Paddy Chayefsky and his friends Bob Fosse and Herb Gardner at the Russian Tea Room in 1975.
That was such a 1975 sentence.
It is. Actually, everything in that sentence is very
Bob
1975.
Fosse.
Is the Russian Tea Room still around? I think it's closed now.
No, I think I've been to the Russian Tea Room.
Okay. I didn't know if it was still open or not.
Maybe. I mean, I was at the Russian Tea Room 20-something years ago.
I was going to say, it wasn't
years
last
ago.
week you were there.
No,
Yeah.
it was last time I was in New York, I think.
Okay. Paddy Chayefsky had moved to Hollywood in 1947 to pursue a career in screenwriting. He was an apprentice screenwriter at Universal and submitted some outlines, but they were all rejected, and he was fired 6 weeks later.
Here we go.
Yep. It's going to start a weird pattern of Paddy Chayefsky's career. In 1948, an outline for a play he wrote was purchased by 20th Century Fox, who hired him to write the screenplay, but he was discouraged by the Hollywood system and their constant need for rewrites while treating screenwriters with disdain.
Yeah, I get him for that. I mean,
I understand the disdain, being treated with disdain. The fact that they were making him rewrite stuff and he was mad about it tells you so much more about Paddy Chayefsky.
that's a little bit, yeah.
So he quit and moved back to New York, vowing to never return to Hollywood.
I'll never return!
In 1953, he wrote Marty, a television play that Hollywood was very interested in.
Oh, yeah.
Chayefsky, still upset by his treatment years before, demanded creative control, consultation on casting, and the same director as in the TV version.
All right, it's not horrible so far.
He's just making some demands, and which is whatever. Look, you make demands, they either meet them or they don't. I mean,
and these aren't ridiculous demands.
No. Surprisingly, the producer agreed to all of Chayefsky's demands and named Chayefsky associate producer of the film.
All right, should be happy, right?
Yeah.
Should be a happy guy.
Yeah, you'd think so. Chayefsky then requested and was granted co-director status so that he could take over production if the director were fired.
Okay, if I were hired to be the director on this, and that was a stipulation, I would quit right away.
Yeah, I would be like, guess what? You're not co-director anymore. It's all yours.
There is absolutely no way
Yeah.
any self-respecting director would.
No. Despite the studio trying their best to tank the picture, it would end up winning Best Picture at the 1955 Academy Awards.
It's a really great movie.
I've never seen Marty.
Well, it's Ernest Borgnine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's his performance, really. Right. I mean, it's well written. I'm not going to discount that.
No, yeah,
and say that it's
yeah.
a badly written. It's a really good movie, but it really is the tour de force of Borgnine's career, and that's saying a lot because
he's great.
an exceptional actor.
Paddy Chayefsky would also win Best Adapted Screenplay off his own work for Marty. Because it was originally the TV movie, quote unquote TV movie.
Right.
Back in the day, they did essentially plays that were just not broadcast, I guess, not filmed.
Well, like Studio 60
Yeah.
was all plays. I mean, look, they needed to fill a lot of. They didn't know what to do with TV.
Right.
So they filmed a lot of plays.
Yeah,
And,
which makes sense. I mean, you have 3 cameras set up, you just kind of do whatever, and it worked.
built in. Everybody knows what it is.
Right.
People want to see it. You get some good actors. Bing, bang, boom.
There you go. In fact, Chayefsky is the only person to have won 3 solo Academy Awards for writing both adapted and original screenplays.
Okay.
He won original screenplay at the 1972 Oscars for The Hospital, starring George C. Scott.
I've never seen it.
It's apparently really good. It'll come back later with Paddy Chayefsky, but he apparently was essentially a doctor. Eventually, ends up. They figure out that the doctor's been murdering people, and it makes the doctors look very bad, very bad.
Doctors were pretty pissy back then.
Yeah.
And, they're like, how dare you? Yeah. How dare you besmirch our profession?
But apparently George C. Scott was amazing in it. That was the big thing.
Not surprising at all.
Yeah.
He was an amazing actor.
Chayefsky also won the 1977 original screenplay Oscar for Network.
Amazing effing movie.
One of the best screenplays ever written.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Whatever that guy, he's like, he gets props for this.
He is not a bad writer. Mm-hmm. He's a fantastic writer. I just would never want to be in the same room with him.
No. I don't think I would.
I would never want to work with him, ever.
Well, no, not with the demands
No.
he has.
So Patty, Bob, and Herb were feeling disgruntled and as a joke conceived of a movie that they could make together. They wanted to pitch something to Dino De Laurentiis, who was making King Kong. After discussing a version of Frankenstein, they decided to do a version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Chayefsky went home and wrote a 3-page dramatic statement.
And I have never seen something come together so fast.
Yeah. Producer at Columbia Pictures, Daniel Melnick, suggested that Chayefsky turn the treatment he had written into a novel first, and he agreed.
I agree.
He did extensive research with scientists and anthropologists. The novel was based in part on John C. Lilly's sensory deprivation research conducted in isolation tanks under the influence of psychoactive drugs like mescaline, ketamine, and LSD.
Yeah. Oof, man.
I cannot imagine. Number one, I've never been in a sensory deprivation tank.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine being on hallucinogens while you're inside of it.
Well, you do hallucinate. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
We didn't go so far as to do hallucinogens, but we did want to see if there was a difference. So I smoked pot before I did it, and he didn't. Not much better time than he did. I would do hallucinogenics in it, I think. Okay. Because I think once you get settled, then it would be an amazing experience. Right. Because tripping is an amazing experience as is. If you're wired for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that aren't. If you're a control freak, stay away.
Right.
But if you're somebody who is open to new experiences and expanding your mind and not afraid of new stuff, it can be life-changing.
Yeah.
And I think having the focus of being in the sensory deprivation tank with that would be such an intense trip.
Yeah.
So intense.
That's why I and granted, maybe, like if I ever had done the tank a few times,
yes.
and then it's like, oh, okay, I'll try it.
You don't want it for your first pop.
Because I don't mind. I mean, psychedelics are fine.
Yeah.
Like, I've never had any issues with them. But, like, it would just, I think it's the factor for me that's mysterious is the tank itself.
Right.
Because I've never been in it. I don't know what it,
It's great. The weirdest part about it is relaxing your neck. I think I was telling you this the other day. So,
because you're laying down.
Yeah.
Despite what the beginning of the movie showed.
Yes. You're laying in a tank and it's a saline solution, so you're buoyant. You
Right,
float.
right.
So your whole body floats. So when you relax your neck, your head doesn't go under. It floats, but it's the hardest part to relax because you're afraid that your mouth is
because
going to go under.
naturally, when you're in a pool, you let your head go. You're
Right.
going to get water up your nose. And
Exactly.
It's going to suck. Yeah.
But once you get to the point where you're completely relaxed, it's an incredible experience. It was such an incredible experience that I wanted to get my own
Oh, wow.
and do it every day because I felt so positive after getting out of it. I had accessed a ton of memories that I didn't even remember. My
Wow.
brain just started pulling stuff
Yeah,
from
okay.
the archives and being
Right.
like, remember this? And I started seeing things differently. I was a smoker at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm quitting smoking. Like my whole attitude changed when I got out of the tank. Because you're deprived of everything, everything is so much brighter and vibrant. The walk back in Boston was just, we're both like, oh my God, look at the colors. It really is an amazing experience.
How long were you in the tank?
I was in for 5 hours, I think.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I was in for a while. He was, my partner was only in for like an hour.
Oh, okay.
He had a really bad experience. His experience, but it also started out weird. Like the guy gave us massages.
Oh.
But kind of for me, he was like, take shirt off. And then I took my shirt off and that was it. And he kind of rubbed me down a little bit. But my buddy's like, get nude.
Oh.
And he was a handsome little guy. And so it's like,
Did the massager like climb into the tank with him during?
no,
during
but he felt uncomfortable and a little bit
right.
violated.
And that's
him.
not the proper way to go into the
No.
tank.
And so he was already not feeling comfortable because
Right.
of the way this guy
So, yeah,
handled
yeah,
him.
yeah.
And he gets in the tank and he fell asleep.
Oh.
And we were, it's really cool because you're in a control room. It's like, you're
yeah.
okay in there? And
Yeah.
nothing. So we had to open it up. And he woke up and saw us and it's just like a creature
He was like a
just scurried to the side of the tank.
monkey
and was
man.
like, totally.
Wow.
Feral. It was crazy. So he did not have a good experience.
Wow.
And I did. So, it made for a decent paper.
Yeah.
But, I don't even know what our hypothesis was, to be honest with you. I don't remember. Does it make you, a monkey man?
Yeah.
I don't think that was it. But I recommend it. I don't know. I think it's funny because every 10 years or so, sensory deprivation rears its ugly head again and
Yeah,
becomes something. And I think there is something there. And I would like to do it again now as an older person.
There are a couple places here in the valley that still do it. Have some tanks you can go in for an hour. I don't know how expensive it is, but you can definitely do it.
Yeah, it's probably expensive.
I'm sure it's
now.
expensive. Yeah,
But yeah, people were buying tanks. They had these egg-shaped tanks. They looked like the spaceship that Mork came in
Oh,
from
nice.
Mork and Mindy. But yeah, it was a really, really fascinating experience that I 100% recommend to anyone.
Okay. I'm going to try it at some point. So, the novel that he wrote was published in early 1978. As was the case with his previous films, Chayefsky was granted full creative control over the film version of Altered States.
Okay.
Yeah, to a degree. Film rights were sold to Melnick, who had greenlit Network while the head of production at MGM and who had a deal with Columbia.
So it totally makes sense after the success of Network.
Oh, yeah. That they're like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
Chayefsky has definitely made a reputation for himself that he deserves the little
Yeah.
extra tidbits that they're giving him.
Oh, yeah. In April 1978, Chayefsky turned in his script to Columbia. In June 1978, Melnick became the head of production at Columbia, but under his deal, he was still allowed to produce Altered States. Melnick wound up resigning in October, taking Altered States with him.
Yeah.
It was back in the day when the heads of productions, it was like a revolving door.
Oh, yeah.
Constant.
And every project that was greenlit by the previous guy was scuttled, and then
right.
all the new projects had to
Right.
come in, and then they were scuttled. It was
Which is why you have specific clauses in your contract that I'm bringing this in, and I get to do it, and
yeah, it was complicated.
It
was a mess.
Silly. Yeah, it was. Melnick and Chayefsky decided to hire Arthur Penn to direct the film. Penn made waves with his second film, The Miracle Worker, about Anne Sullivan, the teacher of Helen Keller.
Water, Helen, water. That's from the
Is it?
Helen Keller musical on South Park.
It's like
Water, Helen, water.
I just want there to be a Helen Keller musical where it's just for 2 hours.
Wow. Write it.
Yeah.
Well, I think you just
I
did.
just did.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put it up.
Penn would be nominated for Best Director at the Academy Awards for The Miracle Worker, losing to David Lean for Lawrence of Arabia.
It's a really great movie, though, Miracle
Yeah.
Worker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not to disparage.
No,
And also,
no. I mean, the whole story's fascinating.
oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, talk about being a prisoner in your own body.
yeah,
Helen
yeah.
Keller, my God, until she met, what's her name?
Anne Sullivan. Anne Sullivan.
Until she met
Han Sullivan.
Han Solo.
Anne Sullivan. Yeah.
Until she met Anne Sullivan, you know, what?
The fact that Anne Sullivan has to literally be the greatest teacher that ever lived.
Yeah.
Because how do you teach somebody that can't see or hear how to essentially talk?
Well, Adam, if you watch The Miracle Worker, you'd know.
I still don't get it. I've seen the movie. I still don't get it. I still don't understand.
She drew stuff on her hand.
I know. But I mean, it's just the amount of patience you have to have for that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
It is crazy. And, I mean, Helen Keller became a hero. And one of one of the first differently abled heroes in America. And, and rightly so. I mean,
Yeah, she was an incredible
person.
Yeah. In 1967, Arthur Penn would direct Bonnie and Clyde, again being nominated for Best Director.
He is amazing.
Arthur Penn's great. Such a good director.
I'm really kind of curious to see what kind of movie Arthur Penn would have made.
I know. He would lose to Mike Nichols for The Graduate. Also very, very good movie.
You're trying to seduce me, Mrs. Robinson?
I love that movie so much. In 1969, he would make Alice's Restaurant, starring Arlo Guthrie, based on his song Alice's Restaurant Massacre.
Yeah.
Penn would be nominated for Best Director again, but would lose to John Schlesinger for Midnight Cowboy.
Well, I mean that was a
Midnight
juggernaut.
Cowboy was an amazing movie.
I'm walking here.
I've never seen Alice's Restaurant, so I don't know if it's any good or not.
I'm Rizzo Rizzo. It is good. It is good.
I feel like Alice's Restaurant is the polar opposite of Altered States.
Alice's Restaurant is very much of its time.
Yes.
You know, if listen to this song and then decide if you want to watch the movie, because it's basically the same thing.
Right.
And Arlo Guthrie was not a great actor.
No, really?
Sorry, Arlo.
So Penn hadn't directed a movie since 1976 with The Missouri Breaks, starring Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson, which unfortunately was a critical and commercial flop.
Such a disappointment, man.
Yeah.
I was like,
those two together, you would think it'd be dynamite.
In my college days, discovering movies like this, I was like, oh my God, because, you know, I mean, I was a huge Nicholson fan and a huge Brando fan. I mean, come on, anybody who acts in the 80s. Anyway, so yeah, I'm like, I got to watch this. And it was just so god-awful boring. It was just so bad.
Sad. That's so sad.
But I also, at the same time, that's when I found the original version of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Marlon Brando.
Oh, nice.
And David Niven.
Nice.
Which, if you haven't seen, you should definitely.
It's a fantastic movie.
It's just really weird to see Brando playing basically the Steve Martin part.
That's so weird.
And doing like Ruprecht. I mean, all that stuff is still there too.
Right,
it's not as wacky.
Right. So eager to get into production, Arthur Penn started casting. He cast William Hurt as Eddie Jessup, our main character.
William Hurt was could have been a huge star, but I think his hair held him back.
It was just the one hair. They chose this haircut for him.
That's what his hair looked like all the time, Adam. He had that widow's peak. He had weird hair. He was a handsome man with weird hair.
He also, when he talked, he had a weird way of showing his bottom teeth that was really off-putting.
Yeah. His voice is kind of.
I love William Hurt. I think
Everybody
he's a
does.
phenomenal actor. There's just something about him that is just odd.
Again, like Chayefsky.
Yeah.
A brilliant man who I would never want to spend any time with.
Yes.
He seems insufferable.
Oh, my God. Those two in a room together.
Oh, God. He's the kind of actor that you know just talks craft.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, shut up, William Hurt.
So, like a lot of actors in Hollywood, Hurt started on the stage.
Never let you forget it.
He won an Obie Award.
I don't know why I'm being such a dick.
He won an Obie Award for his debut performance there in Corinne Jacker's My Life, and won a 1978 Theater World Award for his performances in 5th of July, Ulysses, Intraction, and Lulu.
Okay.
So he was winning stage awards left and right.
Yes.
Like, he was very good.
He was one of the guys coming up with, Pacino
Yeah.
and all these guys that are like not quite Hollywood but have the bona fides.
Yeah,
like they.
Well, it's he's at the point where they have Nicholson and they're looking for the next big thing,
Right.
And he was it,
Right.
I mean, he was so good, and
Yes, I think his career would have been much better if it took off in the 70s because he had more of a 70s look.
I agree.
Unfortunately, the 80s became more of like the Rambo,
Yeah.
Arnold types of things.
By this point, Hollywood had noticed Hurt, and he was being sent scripts for films to potentially star in, with one of them being Altered States. Hurt reported reading the script for the first time while in a Cuban coffee shop.
Snoot.
By his own admission, after reading, he
Couldn't stop weeping for about half an hour.
he
Couldn't stand up for 45 minutes.
because the script
With every idea that I had been thinking about, everything was in this thing.
he didn't want to star in the movie himself, but really wanted to convince writer Paddy Chayefsky to make it anyway because
The ideas had to get out.
so he
Took the script away for 2 weeks, memorized every word, worked on the entire structure of the entire thing, every scene.
and went in to talk to Arthur Penn, Paddy Chayefsky, and producer Howard Gottfried. Hurt says that
59 minutes and 30 seconds later,
he stood up and went,
that's why I think you have to make it. And I'm going.
but at that point, Penn, Chayefsky, and Gottfried went into a corner and started talking. Yeah, exactly. After they were done, they told him they would make the movie only if he was in it. So there you go.
Okay. Well, sounds like he had a plan all along.
Yeah.
Make him think I don't want it.
I can't believe that he would be weeping for half an hour and then go in and go, I don't really want to be in this.
This is why I think it would be insufferable to hang out with this man. I don't know. I've read a lot of really great scripts.
Yes. I've never wept for half an hour after reading anything.
Wept from some bad ones.
Yeah, well, yeah. While Altered States garnered Hurt recognition, it was Body Heat in 1981 with Kathleen Turner and Lawrence Kasdan's directorial debut that shot him to stardom.
Yeah, an amazing movie. It was one of Ted Danson's first movies too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, he was really good in it. Yeah, it was like this sexy thriller that
Yeah, it's
Kathleen
like
Turner
kind of neo-noir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it introduced her, and it was just again, it hit at the exact perfect time,
Right,
and was a
right.
juggernaut.
Hurt would work with Kasdan 3 more times. He co-starred in The Big Chill in 1983, The Accidental Tourist in 1988, both of which were nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture.
Both really good movies.
Yeah. He had a supporting role in the ensemble comedy I Love You to Death in 1990.
That is one of my favorite William Hurt roles.
I don't think I've seen it.
It is so funny. So it's Tracy Ullman, and she's married to Kevin Kline. They run this pizza shop. Kevin Kline is like cheating on her and all this stuff, so she wants to have him killed. So she hires River Phoenix and William Hurt as these two dopey, dumb hitmen, and the two of them steal the movie.
Yeah,
Hurt and
yeah.
Phoenix are hilarious, and it's like they kill him, but they don't kill him. They shoot him, but he's still alive. It's just this weird comedy.
I don't think I've ever seen this, which is odd because I love Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
But I distinctly remember the commercials for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
The voiceover, I love you to death.
Yeah.
Like that for some reason just burned in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth a look. It's fun, and it's 100% worth a look to see William Hurt and River Phoenix playing these dopey hitmen. It's hilarious.
Nice.
But I think it's based on true story. I'm not sure, but I think it is.
Hurt would win his first Academy Award for Best Actor in 1985 for Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Yeah, that was an amazing performance. Did you see that?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh my god, yeah, and it was also playing gay, which was extremely.
Yeah.
He took a look. One of the reasons why I love this guy so much as a performer is he took so many risks and he did so many different things, and you would think that he was kind of a one-note guy,
Right.
but he really wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
He just had that look. He didn't have a very versatile look to him,
Right.
But he had a very versatile talent.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
that makes sense.
He did. I mean, he definitely was an actor's actor. Like he wanted to
Yeah.
do parts that challenged him, and he wanted to be good. Be good. Of course, everyone wants to be good, but you know what I mean.
But everything was thoughtful and
Right.
thought out with him.
Right.
Everything was very meticulous. Even like Mr. Brooks, which it's not a great movie, but it's an amazing performance.
Guilty pleasure
Oh,
for
me
me.
too. Look,
Yeah.
I really like Kevin Costner in
Yeah.
that too. I think, when Costner zags, it's when he's the best.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
he's in doing what he the yellow, I was going to say Yellow Jackets, but the Yellowstone stuff or whatever. That to me is boring because it's just
Horizon, American West.
whatever. That's him.
Yeah,
I don't need to see. If I can go visit him on his ranch,
Right.
I don't want to see that
Right.
bullshit. But like this and that other cast in Western that we talked about,
Silverado.
Thank you. The other cast in Western Silverado, Costner's doing really interesting and fun work. And I think
more character work.
Yes.
Which is what he should be. Yeah.
I also think one thing that was one of Hurt's real talents was he was always able to raise up the performers around him.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
the reason why Mr. Brooks was as good as it was and Costner was is because he had to bring his A game.
Agreed. Totally agreed. He would be nominated for Best Actor the following year as well for Children of a Lesser God, but lost to Paul Newman for The Color of Money.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I love Color of Money. I never really liked Children of a Lesser God.
Oh, yeah.
It was fine.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Marley Matlin was great, and it was great that they, had a deaf actor playing a deaf
I
actor.
think I have seen that in the DC, yeah. He would be nominated for a third year in a row for Best Actor in 1987 for Broadcast News, but lost to Michael Douglas for Wall Street.
That's a shame. I mean, Douglas was great. Watching that again, it's just like, ugh.
Yeah,
it is such a time capsule of the awfulness of the 80s. And I mean, that was the point. I mean, it wasn't Stone glorifying greed, but everybody took that movie the wrong way.
They did.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And it totally effed with
I want to be Gordon Gekko.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
it's like,
hello on missing the point of the film.
Exactly. It's like, I want to be Hannibal Lecter.
It's like American Psycho. Yeah, you don't want to be him. You're missing the point of the movie.
Yeah, but Broadcast News, again, I think because it was a comedy, that's why. Because comedies are the redheaded stepchild of...
it's very, very hard for them to win.
It's such a good movie with Holly Hunter and him. And oh my God, Albert Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One of his best performances
yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
The shot of him when he's doing the news and he's just sweating and everybody's watching him like, oh God, no, don't sweat. And it's just like he's so bad at doing you got to see this movie. You haven't seen it.
He would be nominated a fourth time in 2005 for Best Supporting Actor for his role in A History of Violence, directed by David Cronenberg.
Good God, that was a great performance.
I love that movie
Chilling.
so much. It also one of the best posters I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
With the gun covering up his face, like out of focus, covering up Mortensen. Yeah. But oh my God, that movie is so good. It is so violent.
Oh my God.
But it is so good.
And William Hurt is...
Oh my God.
Frightening.
Oh my
in it.
God, so
such
scary.
a great performance. Doesn't he have like a whacked out eye?
There was because he had been. It was part of the backstory of him getting out, and he had essentially, I think he shot him in the face,
something like that.
and it was. But the backstory was so good because oh God, it was so good. It's like I actually looked it up while we were watching the movie because I was like, I need to buy this.
Yeah,
like I love A History of Violence so much. It is really hard to find.
Really,
I don't know why. Yeah.
I
shouldn't say hard to find. Man. It's just more expensive than it should be, I guess.
Is it streaming anywhere?
No. I know.
God damn.
It's such a good movie. Unfortunately, he would lose to George Clooney for Syriana.
George Clooney was good in Syriana.
Sure.
It was good, but...
The movie was fine. I thought Syriana was honestly kind of forgettable.
It was fine. Clooney's performance was not as good.
No.
Clooney's great, but he was not as good as William Hurt that year.
No.
It just shows you what a bullshit political crap this Academy Awards are.
I don't like I always bring these up because it's kind of the bellwethers, but I don't like the Oscars. No. I don't like following them.
Awards for art are bullshit.
Nonsense. It's nonsense.
It's bullshit. It's art is subjective. You can't. I don't know. It's the only thing is it's to justify all these idiots that are making. We make billions of dollars doing make-em-ups, so we got to try to church it up a little way. So let's give each other some awards.
The last time I watched the Academy Awards was the greatest moment in awards history when they read the wrong name for the wrong Best Picture. And then they would go, oh, just kidding. And it was like, you just proved that none of this makes any sense. Yes. None of it matters. None of it matters.
Oh, God. Yeah, I haven't watched in years.
Yeah.
I think I tuned in. The last time I tuned in was, I think, accidentally right before the slap.
Oh, yeah.
And then that was the nail in the coffin for me. Once they gave that asshole a standing ovation after committing a assault.
Yeah.
You know, that proved everything I need to know. Yep. The Academy's a bunch of a-holes.
So Hurt has had a very long career between movies and TV. His last production was in Black Widow, being released in 2021, playing Thaddeus Ross, a role that was replaced by Harrison Ford in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie from Marvel.
Yeah, look, I can't complain. I love Harrison Ford.
No.
I think he's going to be great as Red Hulk. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But it was surprising, that Hurt would do this, but I guess he's older and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, he's like, okay.
I need to put an addition on the house.
So in May of 2018, at the age of 68, Hurt was diagnosed with prostate cancer. By 2022, it had metastasized into his bones, and he passed away on March 13th of that year at the age of 71.
Yeah, what a bummer.
Yeah, man, once it gets into the bones, that is so incredibly painful.
Yeah, F cancer, man.
Yeah. They cast Blair Brown as Emily Jessup, his on and off again wife.
Sure.
Brown's first feature role was in the Oscar-winning 1973 film The Paper Chase. After that, she spent a lot of time on TV, appearing in 9 TV movies between 1973 and 1979, with 4 TV movies in 1977 alone.
Damn.
She also made appearances on numerous TV shows, such as Marcus Welby, MD, Kojak, and The Rockford Files. Her character in Altered State says she's 24 after Hurt comments on how young she looks. In reality, she was actually 34 when she appeared in Altered States.
Liar!
I just love the fact she looks super young.
Oh, yeah, she looks great. But back then, too, and between 18 and 40, everybody looked the same.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Because they smoked.
After Altered States, she appeared in Continental Divide in 1981 with James Belushi, earning a Golden Globe nomination.
She's really good in that. I think that was Belushi's last movie. Either that or Neighbors.
Yeah, I think it was Neighbors.
I think Neighbors was released after it. Yeah. It was Belushi. It's sad because it's kind of the window into what Belushi's second act would have been.
Right.
It was really down-to-earth, grounded part. And she was amazing in it, playing like this wild lady who lives in the woods and, woods lady. And he was that's kind of who she was.
Yeah.
And so he was this reporter that was tasked to go out and interview her, find her, and she didn't want to be interviewed, and then love story.
Right, of course. Brown would continue to appear in TV movies, making 19 between 1983 and 2004.
She's solid.
She's very solid. She would be nominated for an Emmy for her role in The Days and Nights of Molly Dodd, appearing in 65 episodes between 1987 and 1991.
It's a good show.
Yeah. In the 1990s, Brown expanded her career into voiceover work, narrating both audiobooks and films and documentaries. Between 2008 and 2013, she appeared in 43 episodes of Fringe.
Oh, yeah. She was awesome.
It's time for me to do a rewatch of that.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah.
Leonard Nimoy from last week's show.
Was also in Fringe. Yeah.
He was.
Between 2015 and 2019, she appeared in 26 episodes of Orange is the New Black.
Oh, yeah.
She most recently can be seen playing the CIA director in the TV series Jack Ryan.
Yes, she's really good in that.
Yeah, she hasn't been acting for a few years, but she's still around, and I think she's just waiting to get more work.
She's great.
Yeah. They cast Bob Balaban as Arthur Rosenberg.
Bob Balaban. Greatest name ever.
Balaban's first notable role was on stage. He created the role of Linus in the original off-Broadway production of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown in 1967.
Never has there ever been more perfect casting than Bob Balaban as Linus.
Yeah.
I expect to see Bob Balaban walking around with a security blanket.
Yeah. His feature film debut was in Midnight Cowboy in 1969. I think it was a very small part.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. In 1970, he appeared as Captain Orr in Catch-22.
Yep, very good.
In 1977, he appeared as the interpreter in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, he's always kind of on edge. He's this weird little guy. He's just a weird little guy who plays weird little parts.
It was funny in this because I'm so used to him being so bald.
Yeah.
And he had so much hair in this movie.
Yes, he had a fro.
He did, and that giant beard.
Yes.
It was like, man, just wear it while you can.
Exactly.
After Altered States in 1984, he appeared in 2010, The Year We Made Contact, the sequel to Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, it was a disappointment.
He played Dr. Chandra, the creator of HAL 9000.
What are you doing? Why are you trying to dismantle me, Adam?
Yeah, well, I don't think that Keir Dullea says anything during that whole scene. I can't respond back. Okay.
You just have to go...
Yeah, that's true. Balaban was also making numerous appearances in TV. He played Ira Stone on Miami Vice, a reporter.
Yeah, it was great. He's always just like, come on, Sonny, you gotta give me something, Sonny.
The fictional head of NBC on Seinfeld. You remember when they were making the show within the show?
Yes, and I remember the two really cringe moments. The one with George Costanza talking about how sexy his daughter is.
Oh,
not
yeah.
knowing it's
Yeah.
his daughter.
Yeah.
And then when he's got like food poison, when they give him the poison,
Right,
the food
right.
poisoning, and he's just throwing up. Oh,
Ugh.
he was such a dick on that. Such a
was,
great dick.
He was. He played it so
perfect.
well.
Perfect.
The image of him going, "That's my daughter," is just burned into my brain.
That's my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so yeah,
Yeah.
so disinterested.
He also played Phoebe's father on Friends. It was only for one episode.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't-
Long lost like father, and he came back. Yeah. In 1989, Balaban directed his first feature, Parents, the horror comedy starring Randy Quaid and Mary Beth Hurt.
It was a weird one. That was back when Quaid was still.
It's a very weird movie.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
It is. It is. It's different. It's definitely worth the look.
He would only direct 2 other features, My Boyfriend's Back in 1993.
Ugh.
Yeah. And The Last Good Time in 1994.
I remember that might being good. I don't really.
Yeah, I think it was one of those, like, after that he stopped directing features, so he would direct more TV, including episodes of...
Amazing Stories, The Twilight Zone, Erie, Indiana, Oz, Strangers with Candy, Swingtown, and Nurse Jackie.
He would be nominated for a Best Picture Academy Award in 2001 for producing Gosford Park, which he also had a small part in.
That movie was so good. It
was so good.
So inexplicably good. I remember watching that movie and just being like, why do I like this movie so much?
Exactly.
And I loved it. I ended up buying it on DVD. I loved it so
was
much.
so good. It was so good. Unfortunately, we would lose To a Beautiful Mind that year.
I mean, fine. Whatever.
It was, yeah. He most recently can be seen in Asteroid City, collaborating with Wes Anderson for the 4th time, having also appeared in Moonrise Kingdom, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and Isle of Dogs.
He is perfect for his
yes.
film. Perfect.
It's like God said, "Here is an actor for Wes Anderson," and it was Bob Balaban.
made by a laser printer, or made by a 3D printer just for him.
He's also going to be featured in season 2 of Severance, which is coming up. I think should be coming out this fall.
Nice. I'm excited. He's great. It's so funny because there's the one line he says that when he said it totally triggered for me, and it's exactly what I think of when I think of Bob Balaban when he goes, "It was a phenomenon."
Yeah,
What was this? Was a phenomenon.
yeah,
And
it's so spot on.
he's just so pumped after. He's like, we gotta get everybody. We gotta get the kids in there, and we gotta give them hallucinogens. We gotta get the tank going. He's just and Charles Hayes like, what are you talking about? It's crazy. You're
yeah.
that job. Oh my God, those two together were so much fun.
So
by the
great.
way,
I want to see a whole movie with them two.
yeah, great character actors, and it's so cool that Bob Balaban is still working today. And I just want to say his name one more time, Bob Balaban, because I love saying it.
They cast Charles Hayde as Mason Parrish, the third, more reasonable guy in the experiments.
I think he was kind of the academic. I don't think he was like the dean or whatever, but I think he was in the
Yeah.
faculty, like the uppers, because he was the one that was like, "I'm going to pull the plug."
Right.
I think he had the purse strings and was kind of. Because he's like, I don't want to know what you guys are doing. I don't. Just shut up.
Yeah,
effing
yeah.
this and
Well,
effing
because they
that."
were using his equipment and
Yeah.
using his like space and
Right.
stuff, and he was kind of the money man, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think he was the one that was kind of running interference with the university for them.
Yeah.
Like, he was on their side, but he had to play the game.
Right. So Hayde is most well known for playing Officer Andy Renko on Hill Street Blues, appearing in all 146 episodes over 7 seasons.
He was one of my favorite characters on that show.
Yeah.
I liked him, James P. Seeking.
Oh yeah, Sea King. He's so good.
But yeah, I mean, Hayde just has this. He's a presence actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just
yeah.
this big personality, this big guy.
The second he appears on screen in Altered States, I was like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, and he's so drunk in it too. He's just like, "Rah." But yeah, I mean, that guy again, talent crush. Every time he was
Yeah.
in something, he just has that kind of John Goodman, or that fills up the screen,
Right.
and doesn't steal focus, but you can't help but gravitate towards him.
Right. He actually met Stephen Bochco, the creator of Hill Street Blues, at Carnegie Mellon University, and they'd been friends ever since.
Nice.
He's mostly played police officers for the majority of his career. He appeared in Nightbreed as a cop in 1990. Eventually, along with his acting, Hayde would start directing.
Nice.
He directed an episode of ER that earned him a Directors Guild Award. He also earned nominations for the TV movie Buffalo Soldiers and an episode of NYPD Blue. He was a regular director of the FX series Nip Tuck.
I totally forgot about Nip Tuck. I love that show.
I never watched it.
Oh my God, that was such a guilty pleasure. Oh, I love that show so much. It's so effing ridiculous.
There was something about the show that just turned me off.
I don't know, man. You should give it a shot.
I know.
Give it a shot. It may not hold up because it was very much of its time.
Right.
But the two dudes were great, and it was just such a bizarre, nihilistic show about two horrible human beings.
Right. He also directed for the FX series Sons of Anarchy and AMC's Breaking Bad.
Wow.
He was also a regular director for the CBS series Critical Minds, for which he also portrayed serial killer Randall Garner, a.k.a. the Fisher King.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was great.
Oh, Criminal Minds. His last credit is in the 2016 indie movie Sensitivity Training, which looked horribly awful.
Okay.
He's now retired at the age of 81.
All right. Well, you've done your service, Mr. Haid.
Yeah, he's somebody that I need to see more of what he's done. Because I think this is the first time I've actually seen him act.
Oh, really?
I think so, because I've never saw Hill Street Blues. Maybe Nightbreed. I did see Nightbreed, but I don't think I realized it was him.
Yeah.
But he's good. He was so good. He was my favorite, not favorite thing, but he was one of the best things in this movie.
Well, because he had just so much energy, you know? I mean, he was
just so night and day from them being these stuffy academics
Yeah.
talking over each other, and he was just, rah!
Talking to everybody's like this.
Then he comes in, he's just like, what's going on, Bob? There's to
So
go.
great. A number of other people made appearances in Altered States. Tao Penglis as Eduardo Echevarria, the Mexican guide who takes him down to Mexico to take drugs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
really, yeah. Penglis is actually Australian with Greek heritage.
He looks a little bit like Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Oh, and Ray Sharkey, you said.
Yeah, I thought he was Ray Sharkey. He
yeah.
looks a lot like Ray Sharkey.
He's mostly well known for appearing in a number of daytime soap operas.
Got that look.
Yeah, he does. Dory Brenner was cast as Sylvia Rosenberg, Arthur's wife. She was a very close friend of Betty Davis.
What is she now?
Yeah, the funny thing is that I tried to find some other stuff she was in, and it was nothing really of note. Her bios talk more about her family than they do her. Like, her sister is some famous novelist, and yeah, I was just like, man, sad. Like, she was good in this. I mean, granted, she was in, like, one scene.
Yeah,
But
she did her job.
sadly, she died of complications from cancer on September 16th, 2000, at the age of 53.
Oh, it's horrible.
53!
Too young.
It's awful. Drew Barrymore was cast as Margaret Jessup, Eddie and Emily's younger daughter. This was actually Barrymore's feature film debut at the age of 4.
Nice. Yeah, you could barely see her. Also, one of the kids was played by Evan Richards, who I know. He's an independent filmmaker now. He was also in Down and Out in Beverly Hills. He was a kid actor.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's an indie filmmaker.
John Larroquette was the X-ray technician. This was his first on-screen feature credit, having just done the narration for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974 previously.
He looks so young.
So young.
Just a baby boy. And he's just like, what do you want me to do? It's a very funny part.
Yeah.
Because it's just so used to seeing him being smarmy, and without the smarm, it's a little unsettling.
He'd only made TV appearances before Altered States. George Gaines was Dr. Wissenschaft. Weissenschaft? I'm sorry, he was the radiologist who looks at Eddie's X-ray. Gaines is most well known as Commandant Eric Lassard in all 7 of the Police Academy movies, and for playing Henry and Punky Brewster for 88 episodes over 4 seasons.
Oh, Punky, what have you done now?
You know what's really, really weird is that when I think of Punky Brewster and I think of George Gaines and Punky Brewster, I never think of him playing Eric Lassard. Like, to me, they're completely different people.
Oh, yeah.
It's so bizarre.
The most famous scene with him is probably in Police Academy, where he's at the lectern, and there's a woman in there, and she manipulates him orally.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's trying to give a speech,
and then he looks down, and the Goot was also in the underneath.
Oh, right.
He sees the Goot, and he's like, he thinks that the Goot was the one that was orally manipulating him.
Yeah. Orally manipulating him.
Yes.
That's what we're calling it now. Okay.
Yeah, it's very, yes. I like to be academic. Because this is a snooty film. We got to be academic at it.
Right, of course. He also appeared in 17 episodes of The Days and Nights of Molly Dodd with Blair Brown.
Hey, good to see you again, Molly.
He apparently, I don't remember her name. I don't have her name, but his wife was in it too. She played the love interest of his in the movie. Apparently, she was an actor as well.
Yeah. He's so great.
Yeah, he's so good. He retired in 2003 after appearing in the blockbuster box office success Just Married with Ashton Kutcher. Gaines died at his daughter's home in North Bend, Washington on February 15th, 2016 at the age of 98.
It always sucks when you're just that shy of 100.
Yeah. Speaking of,
Jimmy Carter.
happy birthday to Jimmy Carter.
Happy birthday, the best ex-president in the history of ex-presidents. That mother effer is what every Christian should strive to be.
It's true. So filming was set to begin in November of 1978. However, during rehearsals, director Arthur Penn resigned after a dispute with Chayefsky.
Surprise, surprise.
Penn later recalled that the only way he could leave the project and get paid for his work was to be fired. Supposedly, he and Chayefsky remained friends thereafter.
Okay.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The producers started searching for directors, and most of them turned down the project, including
Steven Spielberg, Stanley Kubrick, Sidney Pollack, Robert Wise, and Orson Welles.
In fact, 26 directors turned down the project, so they turned to choice number 27, Ken Russell.
What number did you call? Is this the first director that you called? Not exactly.
Yeah,
Third?
no.
A little more.
Russell started as a photographer in England in the 1950s and eventually started making documentaries for the BBC. Russell's first feature film was French Dressing in 1964, a comedy loosely based on Roger Vadom's And God Created Woman.
Yeah.
It was a critical and commercial failure and led Russell to return to work for the BBC. This is also an ongoing cycle in Ken Russell's life. In 1964, he planned to make an adaptation of Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange starring the Rolling Stones, but abandoned the film after the British Board of Censors advised it would not approve it.
Yeah. And then Stanley Kubrick made it.
And then Stanley Kubrick said, look at me, I'm Stanley Kubrick, and I'm making the movie anyway. Russell's television work prompted producer Harry Saltzman to hire him to direct a feature film, Billion Dollar Brain, in 1967, the third Harry Palmer movie starring Michael Caine.
Yeah, those are kind of fun.
Yeah. He wanted to follow it with a biopic of Václav Nijinsky, but Brain was a commercial disappointment, so he did not.
Oh.
In 1969, Russell directed what is considered his signature film, Women in Love, an adaptation of D.H. Lawrence's novel of the same name about two artist sisters living in post-World War I Britain. The film starred Glenda Jackson, Oliver Reed, Jenny Linden, and Alan Bates. The film is notable for its nude wrestling scene, which broke the convention at the time that a mainstream movie could not show male genitalia.
Okay, good for him.
Ken Russell said, yes, I'm going to show you some wieners.
Time for wieners.
Women in Love connected with the sexual revolution of the late 1960s. It received 4 Oscar nominations, including his only nomination for Best Director.
It's a really good movie. And again, it shows that when he's working with D.H. Lawrence material, that's where he shines.
He would lose to Franklin J. Schaffner for Patton.
Yeah, respectable. Patton's a great movie.
In 1971, he released The Devils, a film so provocative that the production company Warner Brothers refused to release it unless cuts were made.
Ooh.
Inspired by Aldous Huxley's book The Devils of Loudon and using material from John Whitting's play The Devils, it starred Oliver Reed as a priest who stands in the way of a corrupt church and state. Helped by publicity over the more sensational scenes featuring sexuality among nuns, the film topped British box office receipts for 8 weeks. In the United States, the film, which had already been cut for distribution in Britain, was further edited but never widely released theatrically in anything like its original state.
Yeah, it was 16 minutes.
Yeah.
It was mostly just people going in and out of doors.
Wow, that was a really good movie. It moved right along. That's crazy. The original uncut version has only been shown in the U.S. at film festivals and art houses until 2017 when Shudder premiered the uncut version of the film for the first time on streaming.
I'd like to see the uncut version.
I believe it's still on Shudder.
Cool, I'll watch it.
So you'll check it out. In 1975, Russell's star-studded film version of The Who's rock opera Tommy, starring
Roger Daltrey, Anne Margaret, Oliver Reed, Elton John, Tina Turner, Eric Clapton, and Jack Nicholson.
spent a record 14 weeks at the number 1 spot.
It's a interesting movie.
I don't think I ever realized that Ken Russell directed Tommy.
Neither did I.
But
now it makes sense.
It just seems like, I mean, it's so out there, but it just, I don't know. Yeah. It's a good movie. I mean, I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
It's an interesting movie.
Yeah.
It's flawed, but it's definitely worth seeing.
I feel like for most of Ken Russell's movies, you could call them interesting but flawed.
Yeah, it's the same as the man.
He always tries. He always goes out there and does his thing.
Look, he's got a vision. Not everybody can see that, but
Yeah.
he can.
Right,
And,
right,
I respect a man who I respect somebody who sticks by their artistic sensibilities even when everybody's like, maybe you shouldn't.
Right. His biopic of Rudolph Valentino was released in 1977, starring Rudolph Nureyev as Valentino.
Have you seen this?
No.
It is one of the worst movies
Oh, really?
I have ever seen. And there is a reason why.
It topped the British
Rudolph
box office for... Yeah. Oh, Rudolph Nureyev, yeah.
Oh, my God, dude. You need to see this
Okay,
movie.
okay.
He is so amazingly bad in
Oh,
it.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. Like he's choosing to be bad? Like it feels like he's choosing to be bad?
He's a ballet dancer.
Yeah. He shouldn't be acting.
He's a ballet dancer.
So it topped the British box office for 2 weeks, but was not a hit in America. It did barely nothing in America. After this, Ken Russell said,
Nobody in Hollywood would give me even a B movie to direct.
except for Altered States. It was the first time Russell would make a film in Hollywood. He later said,
I thought I would hate Hollywood, but I rather liked it. Everyone there is supposed to be terribly materialistic, but Altered States was the first movie I ever worked on when nobody, not Warner Brothers, not Don Melnick, the executive producer, or Howard Gottfried, the producer, ever mentioned money.
yeah. I mean, he seems like he had a good time making it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Chayefsky and Russell would not get along.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Two big-ass personalities.
There were 3 weeks of rehearsals in March of 1979, during which Chayefsky and Russell had a massive dispute. I somehow feel like it's very similar to the dispute he had with Arthur Penn. But Russell was just a bigger personality and pushed through it.
Yeah.
Chayefsky left the project and did not appear on set during filming, contrary to his normal practice, where, again, remember, the studio said you had complete control of this movie.
Yeah.
And Ken Russell said, hold my beer.
Yeah, well, good for him, man, because, look, you've directed
Oh, yeah.
plays and stuff
Oh,
when
yeah.
you have the writer hanging around.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, dude, your time is done. Now it's my time to shine.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and we're just rehearsing now.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, it's like, let me get to the part where I'm doing my job.
Exactly. You did your job. Let me do my job and get the F out of here.
Apparently, Russell, objecting to Chayefsky's interference, as Chayefsky was a control freak, had the writer banned from the set.
Nice.
And it's disputed. I don't know if that actually happened or not. There's a lot of he said, she said
Sure.
and stuff. So.
And they're both a couple of snooty jerks.
Both blowhards. So, I mean,
Yep.
Chayefsky reportedly tried to have Russell removed as director, but by then the film was already well underway, and the studio already had replaced one director.
Come on, dude.
Yeah. The film's producer, Howard Gottfried, said that Russell was polite and deferential prior to production, but after rehearsals began in 1979,
They began to treat Paddy as a non-entity.
and was...
Mean and sarcastic.
But the best, though, is that Chayefsky called Russell a...
A duplicitous mean man.
Yeah, duplicitous mean man. I can't imagine calling someone, you're such a mean person. You're so mean.
You're a mean man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a mean man.
So Russell said Chayefsky...
Didn't like the color of the paint on the isolation tank. Then it went on to other things. He didn't like the lighting. Then he didn't like the machinery. Then he thought I was making the actors appear drunk in a scene where they were written to be slightly tipsy at a bar. There was a lot of embarrassing dialogue, and there was a hell of a lot more in the original script than there is now. It was a verbose script.
He continued...
I couldn't work with someone else judging everything I did. Chayefsky told me I'd just be on the set as a benign influence. The producer said, "How do you spell benign, Paddy?" He answered, W-I-C-K-E-D. He was joking, but he wasn't joking.
Yeah. And again, I mean, Chayefsky, he just seems like somebody I want to punch.
Yeah, but I think both these guys are somebody you want to punch.
I know,
And you
I
got
know.
two punchable punches
I know,
facing off
I
against
know.
each other.
An unnamed source close to the film later opined that...
Two strong artists were jockeying for control, and at a given point, a movie becomes a director's movie. You can't stand over his shoulder. You either support him or you fire him.
That was actually Jim. Jim said that, literally referencing what he just said.
I did.
Just a minute ago.
I was very young at the time,
you
but I was a wonderkind.
At a certain point, you got to step back and let the director do his job.
Yes.
Chayefsky had a clause in his contract stipulating that the words in the script could not be changed. Russell
at the height of his alcoholism,
was rebuffed when attempting to change the words, and then
began purposefully trying to destroy Paddy's dialogue by having the actors eat while they were delivering it, or having them deliver it in a staccato machine gun kind of style so that you couldn't make out what they were saying.
yeah, there's a lot of characters talking over each other
Yeah.
and eating. Like the whole scene when he first meets Blair Brown
Yeah.
and he's making a sandwich
Yeah.
and then he's just like, nom, 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 nom. It's like, I totally understood.
Yeah, it's real, though.
But it's real. I agree.
Although, I've never made and ate a sandwich when I was flirting with someone.
No.
Seems a little gross.
Especially at a party. They just got cold cuts sitting out. It's
Yeah,
just
sweaty cheese.
It's a 70s thing, I guess. I don't know. Chayefsky later withdrew his name from the project, so this is credited to Sidney Aaron, Chayefsky's real first and middle name. Chayefsky's good friend, screenwriter Joe Esterhaus, said,
It was a heartbreaking experience for Chayefsky, who had fought for decades against that, and for protecting his materials. It was such a heartbreaking experience that he died shortly afterwards. Some say from a broken heart, and some others say from alcoholism.
and some people would say that Joe Esterhaus is full of shit.
No, but it makes sense that they're friends. I mean, they're very
yeah.
similar.
I know.
Like Joe Esterhaus is Ken Russell without any artistic integrity
Yeah.
or talent.
Yeah. So what actually killed Chayefsky was pleurisy, which he contracted in 1980 and again in 1981.
What is that?
It is a inflammation of your lung membranes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like it's something that's easily taken care of if you are willing to go into surgery.
Oh, okay.
Test revealed cancer, but he refused surgery out of fear that surgeons would,
Cut me up because of the movie I wrote about them.
referring to the hospital, which he won an Academy Award for. So he opted for chemotherapy, and then he died in New York Hospital on August 1st, 1981 at the age of 58.
Joke's on him.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I can understand, like, Joe Esterhaus, like, probably his health declined during this time.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure how you get pleurisy.
Look, I don't either. This guy was an interesting dude. If you want to see a really interesting conversation, go on YouTube, look up the Dick Cavett Show, and there's a great conversation with Chayefsky and Allen Ginsberg, and there was another.
The other guy I didn't see.
There's some other guy I don't
Yeah.
really know, but it's a very interesting conversation about violence, and Chayefsky basically says that no change in society can come without violence, and then
Right.
Ginsburg's like, we don't need violence, but it's not like an argument or anything. It's two really smart guys.
They're having a conversation. Like,
That's why the Dick Cavett Show was so good. It was
so-
it was the Snooty Snoot show.
No,
for
but
people,
it was great.
because he always had great guests who had really good conversations.
Right. They were very articulate about
Yes.
their ideas.
Sometimes very different people coming together and
Right.
having some really
having a conversation. It's
very
something that does
smart.
not happen anymore.
yes, and smart conversations about art and about society and about religion or philosophy. Things that are kind of deep.
Yeah. John Coriolano composed the score for the film. With over 100 compositions, he has won accolades including a Pulitzer Prize, 5 Grammy Awards, the Grawemeyer Award for Music Composition, and an Academy Award.
Damn.
He would score only 2 other movies, Revolution in 1985, starring Al Pacino, Donald Sutherland, and Natasha Kinski.
Ugh, you remember that movie?
No, I never saw it.
It was during the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, I know the basic premise is that Al Pacino's like a land farmer and gets wrapped up into the American Revolution.
Yeah.
And I lost it when they said Al Pacino was a land farmer. I couldn't buy it.
It's a Revolutionary War.
Yeah, this seems like so out of place.
We got to get the rents.
He also did the score for The Red Violin in 1998, starring Carlo Cecchi, Sandra Oh, and Samuel L. Jackson.
That was a really good movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it is
I have not
gorgeous.
seen it since I saw it at the Bijou, our little independent theater in Iowa City, but I loved that movie.
Yeah.
It's done so well.
Same.
That is the movie that won him the Academy Award.
Good.
It was also odd because that's one of the few movies where they actually did the score before they shot the movie.
Oh.
Like it was required for them to be able to play along with the
Right,
score.
right.
But it was such a good movie.
Yeah.
Such a good movie. Altered States began a limited theatrical release in New York and Los Angeles on December 25th, 1980. It received a nationwide theatrical release in the United States in February of 1981 by Warner Brothers. Altered States grossed $19.9 million in the United States and Canada against a production budget of $15 million.
That's so. I really remember it as being a hit. I just remember everybody talking about it at the time.
I think it was, yeah. I just don't think that people went and saw it. I think much like us, it was like, hey, it's good, but it's kind of weird. And I think that probably turned some people off.
Probably.
The initial reviews were generally strong. Russell said,
It's been a while since I've gotten the acclaim I've gotten on Altered States.
yeah. Janet Maslin of the New York Times called the film a
Methodically placed fireworks display exploding into a delirious special effects sequence at regular intervals and maintaining an eerie calm the rest of the time.
yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Richard Corliss of Time Magazine called the film a
Dazzling piece of science fiction.
Roger Ebert, who had given The Devils 0 stars, but did give 3 stars to Tommy, gave it his highest rating for Russell's work, 3.5 stars, praising it as
One hell of a movie.
Pauline Kael, on the other hand, wrote that the
Grotesquely inspired combination of Russell with his showbiz Catholic glitz mysticism and Chayefsky with his showbiz Jewish ponderousness results in an aggressively silly picture that isn't really enjoyable.
that is exactly how I think Pauline Kael sounds. God, she's just not,
Yeah, a little anti-Semitic, but she didn't get it.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. John C. Lilly, the guy who had popularized deprivation tanks, liked the film but found that parts of it were much too close to a manuscript that he'd written. Lilly said that his publishers of his unpublished manuscript called him to tell him,
Paddy Chayefsky would like to read your manuscript. Will you give him your permission? I said, only if he calls me and asks permission. He didn't call, but he probably read the manuscript anyway.
there was literally, like, almost the entire movie was stolen from this.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
The whole bit about the Monkey Man and, like, it was stuff based on Lilly, like, stuff that happened.
Yeah.
And through interviews and stuff, Chayefsky wrote the script. I think he pretty much stole the entire thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Chayefsky.
Yeah. The film would earn 2 Academy Award nominations. The Academy Award for Best Original Score for John Corigliano, and it would unfortunately lose to Michael Gore of Fame. And then the Academy Award for Best Sound, but it would lose to The Empire Strikes Back.
Well,
Which, you know.
deservedly so. Okay. So this movie, watching it again, I did really enjoy it. I think it's a thinker. I think, as you have said, you don't really know what you feel about it.
More that we talk about it, the more I like the movie.
Yeah.
So I think that is a definite plus.
Yeah.
It's definitely a movie you should sit down and discuss with people.
Yes.
Because it is super weird, but, like, it's there. You just got to really decipher it.
It's a smart film. And the ideas that they touch upon are very deep and universal ideas that we've, questions that we've had since the beginning of time.
Ponderances.
Yes, ponderances. And what I really like about it, what we talked about a little bit at the beginning, is how as he devolves through humanity, we get through the religious stuff. And we get through, and we get down, when you just sink it down to the first cell, and you realize that life is nothing but life.
Yeah.
That's when he, at the end, was like, I love you. Because
Yeah.
he realized that whatever meaning, whatever he was searching for, which was based on the death of his father and the death of his religious visions and beliefs, he was always searching for something, searching for the answer of creation, the answer to God. And he realized there was no answer. There was just, even when you get down to the very, very beginning of life, there still is no answer.
Right.
Because you don't know who created you. You don't know that cell didn't come, from the finger of God.
Right.
It started in the primordial soup.
Right.
The stew, or however you want to cook it. So
Yeah.
So when he comes out of it, and she comes out of it, it does make sense at the end for him to go through this incredible journey of the mind and come out the other side being like, well, the only thing that really has substance in this life and that anchors us and grounds us is love.
Yeah.
And usually that's such a turnoff to me. Not that I don't believe in love or whatever, but I just think it's a lot of times it's just cloying or saccharine or
Corny, yeah.
Corny, yes. I'm not going to say this was 100% not corny, but I don't think it was corny. I think the very last bit, there's way too many shots of a naked William Hurt kneeling next to somebody.
Yeah.
There's like 80 shots of that.
Yeah.
I've seen enough. But
this movie could have been cut down a little bit.
yeah. But I think, the fact that Blair Brown's character always comes around to ground him,
Yeah.
and that's it,
That she had the love from the very beginning.
Right.
Like she knew that at the very beginning. And
he didn't realize that love that he also felt for her was what was keeping him coming back.
Right.
And that she was the anchor to reality
Right.
and the anchor to existence.
Right.
And that is love. And it's a little weird that this esoteric, drug-fueled, sensory deprivation, devolving science movie is basically just about a guy learning how to love.
I think the smartest thing this movie did, and it's a very smart movie, but I think filmically the smartest thing that this movie did was ending with him finally saying "I love you," and then it went to black.
Yeah.
Because that was it. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
And it made me go back and rethink about the entire movie.
Exactly, yes.
And that is brilliant.
Yeah. No, it is Ken Russell's best movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I really like his weirder stuff. I love that stuff. I like the weird 70s, like the Decameron and stuff
Yeah,
that's like
yeah.
those weird kind of pseudo-sex movies.
Right.
They fascinate me. They're just weird, and it's like, how did this get made? And why am I watching it? But I love it. And not this to say that this is the same kind of thing, but it does have its own genre, if you will.
Yeah.
Because there aren't very many science-based thrillers or academia-based thrillers, right?
Yeah. I would, and this is something I was going to say earlier, but I think this would be an interesting double feature with 2001.
Yeah.
I think doing 2001 and then doing Altered States, because 2001 feels like a bookend to this, of like, in that movie they're looking for evolution
Right.
and like moving forward,
Yes.
whereas this movie's trying to go back and figure out the
Origins.
roots and the origins.
The oranges.
The oranges. But I think it would be a really fascinating, because it did remind me a lot of that. I was like, okay, I have to really pay attention and figure out what the hell's
Yes.
going on.
You
And I like that. You don't see that very often anymore.
No, I totally agree. You get 2 tabs of acid, you drop it, and you put put
Yes.
these movies on, and it'll change your life.
you-
change your effing life, man. Change your life, man. No, I think that's a perfect double feature because they're very similar in the explorations of humanity,
Yeah.
what it means to be human, where it came from, and where it's going.
Right.
And I think that Altered States does a really good job of postulatizing what the origins are. In him coming back as like the proto man or whatever. I guess that was
Yeah. The primordial man, I think
Sure.
they called him, or something like that.
But they called him Proto Man because he was the first, right?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, oh, I'm seeing the first humans. They're
Right,
rocking
right.
erect, and they're and he's eating a goat and
Oh my God, so much goat eating.
a lot of goat.
I would be remiss to not point out that Primal Man, as they called him, was not played by William Hurt.
No.
It was by Miguel Gaudreau, who I believe was like an acrobat mime.
Oh my God.
And number one, did not think that sequence was going to go on for nearly as long as it did.
So interesting.
It was fascinating.
It was, and he was amazing. The way he moved,
So good.
the way he reacted, and with the dogs and everything.
Yeah, don't watch this if you like dogs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't get hurt too bad. He doesn't eat it. He just
There's
hits-
a shot of a dog getting hit in the head with a stick.
Yeah, but it doesn't die. Then they're friends. Then he's running with the dogs. He just had to. He had to be the.
He had to show it dominance.
Yes, he had to be.
alpha.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. He had
It
to-
just shocked me. The actual shot of it. It shocked me a little bit.
Well, it wasn't a real board hitting the dog.
I realize.
Or maybe it was. It's
I
the
know
80s,
how
70s.
movies work.
Yeah, but back then they used to trip horses and stuff. So
yeah.
who knows?
Anyway.
But yes, the point is that it was an amazing performance by him, and again, that whole sequence really reminded me of An American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of made me think about, oh, maybe that would be a good double feature too, because
Yeah.
it's like, again, it's a guy who is devolving and
Right, right.
but and it around the same time it has that same feel.
Yeah,
Very personal horror
Right,
film.
right.
But Yeah, that whole sequence was. It did go on for a while, but it didn't go on too long, I don't think. And
No, because it was interesting. I remember I turned to you and it was like, well, I was not expecting the weird monkey man to be on screen for 20 minutes, but okay, because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
I didn't know where it was going. I
Right.
didn't know, because like in most movies, it'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. Like he's the primal man,
Right.
and that's it. But no, the primal man has a whole story and arc, and like,
but it all makes sense too, because when he goes to Mexico to experience the drug with the shaman,
the brujo.
yes, they make mention that it is this drug helps you get in touch with the origins of man.
Yeah.
And so the combination of that drug and the sensory deprivation tank is what brings on
Right.
this.
Is what-
So it's not just like him being a tank
Oh,
or
no,
taking
no,
acid.
no.
It's like it does make sense in terms
Yeah.
of the movie. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy psychological things of the mind and explorations of consciousness and reality. And I think the thing that was really interesting was it explored so our consciousness, what we call consciousness, is our reality.
Yeah.
Our subconscious, well, what if that was reality too? What if
Right,
our dream
right.
state was reality too? What if any one of these states of consciousness
Right.
becomes actual reality? And that's what caused him to become, primal man or
yeah.
whatever. And I think that is fascinating. I think what's great about it is it earns all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
think that
Oh,
there's definite thinking behind it. There's definite motivation, and it all academically makes sense. Quoties, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they justify it in a way that really, it's hard to argue with.
Well, I mean, yeah, as a big thought experiment, it works,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes sense, and I like the ending, and I like the fact that it was him figuring out who he was as
Yeah.
a person,
Yeah.
and that person was the fact that he loved Blair Brown.
Yeah.
Like I liked that. It was nice at the end, and it has some great visuals. It has some amazing acting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole sequence with him after taking the drug, and then like him with Blair Brown, and she's like doing the weird like snake pose.
Yeah.
and then they turn into
Dust.
but then that goes on for so long,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, that wind just keeps blowing, and then they literally became part of the environment, and that was the closest I've ever seen an acid trip depicted on screen.
Oh yeah, I mean they do a very good job with that, and it's just kind of unlike any other movie you're going to see, especially a mainstream movie.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot to compare it to.
No.
And it is unapologetically weird, and I honestly think it wouldn't have worked as well if you had another actor other than William Hurt.
I agree.
He, from what you said of him reading the script,
Yeah.
weeping, that he connected with the material wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And he gives everything in this performance.
Totally.
Physically, mentally. He must have been exhausted after
Oh yeah,
this.
yeah.
And Blair Brown, too. She's exceptional in it. Everybody, Bob Balaban,
Yeah.
Cade, they're all really great because they are all so human and
Yeah.
normal and experiencing. This is another thing I love. Normal people experiencing really incredible things.
Right.
And yeah, Hade's the skeptic who's like, this is bullshit, but it doesn't
still-
ring
yeah.
as that stupid trope where it faced, with all of the proof in front of you, the guy's like, no, it's not true.
Because as soon as he saw it and was like, holy crap.
He didn't want it to be true.
But when he was faced with that, he goes, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in. And it was no, I'm gonna argue to have more skepticism. And it was like, okay, let's get back and do this again.
Yes,
Let's
because
go do
he's
it
a
again.
scientist. And
Yeah.
scientists, when they are faced with proof, move into scientific
Right,
mode.
right.
And it was just great the way that these people, I think Balaban and Hade were my favorite combination.
Yeah.
Because they were at odds, but also buddies. And they just had this really great relationship. And especially after the whole, when S goes down
Yeah.
and the old stew pops up and everything disappears.
right.
And he is going more and more primitive, and everything is just kind of devolving into madness.
Yeah, yeah.
Their reaction afterwards at the apartment with Balaban when he's going, wait, what's this? And Hade's like, I don't want any part of this. It's crazy. I don't want any.
Oh my god!
You know, and
that's sort of the best. Them just screaming each other
Yeah.
over the sink, like it was
we
so
gotta shut it down. It's dangerous. No, we got to get all the students in here, and we got to start getting them in the tanks.
so real. So
Yeah,
real.
because that's how it would be. Because there would be part of you is like, this is super dangerous.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the other part is like, oh my god, this is one the greatest
even
scientific breakthrough in a century.
even Blair Brown, like she's like, I know this is not going to work, but
Yeah.
the scientist in me is like, I have to see what happens.
She's an anthropologist, so
Yeah.
it had a great combination of different scientists that came together to really make this group work.
Yeah, yeah.
and the love of the science over the fear of the reality
Yeah.
was another great trope
yeah,
that I really it's just like they're like astronauts, man. It's just it's the same thing. You're going where no one has gone before.
yeah.
And
Should we keep doing this?
Yes.
Yes, we should.
Yeah, because it's not going to space, but it's going into the mind.
Right,
It's the space
right,
of the mind,
right.
the unknown.
Inner space.
Exactly. And finding the answers to the questions that have plagued mankind since we crawled out of the stew.
Yeah.
And it answers it in a very interesting and smart way, in my opinion.
I cannot think of a better feature debut than, especially as a lead, than William Hurt, man. Like, he was offered this part, and he ran away with it.
Yeah.
And I honestly can't think of anybody that their first lead feature, like, the very first movie, being this good. And,
Bill
like, he wasn't the lead.
I'm not just kidding.
But that's what made me think of it, was that it's like he did an amazing job, but William Hurt went there because it could have ended his career.
Definitely.
We gave you a chance, and this is what you did. But, but he ran with it.
And that was indicative of Hurt's career for the rest of his life. He was taking chances, going for material rather than what was best for his career.
Right.
It was what was best for him as an artist. And I think working on this film early on and being so passionate about it cemented that for him.
Yeah.
If his first movie was Star Wars and he was playing Han Solo, it would have been very different.
Yeah, that's true.
So he got in there and he was so invested and so much a part of this, of making the movie, not just being the star, but also being so passionate about the material and believing so heavily and saying, this is everything that I've been thinking about. So it just seems like it would have been a really, except for, the writer, it was probably a great experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also, I would have loved to see so many of the directors you mentioned. I would love to see their version of this film.
Right.
But I think ultimately Ken Russell was the right person to do it because he took it in directions that I don't think these other directors would have been capable of doing.
Totally. He's willing to take risks.
Yeah.
And most of those directors are not.
Right. At least not to the extreme that he is. I mean, to the point where he will ruin his movie.
Yeah.
If his artistic sensibilities force him to do so.
Right.
And that is respectable and also a little crazy.
Yeah.
So, and I think some of the most interesting directors, they're a little crazy.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. And Russell may not be the best director around, but everything that I've seen of his is an interesting watch.
Yes, yeah. He always goes there.
Yeah.
Always.
And especially, you should watch his D.H. Lawrence adaptation. Not Serpent the Rainbow, but Lair of the White Worm is a really interesting and bizarre film.
Very bizarre. Yeah, very weird.
So yeah, check it out, baby.
Yeah, find it. It's out there. Find it. It's worth a watch. Do double feature with 2001.
Yeah.
Drop a lot of LSD.
Oh my god. Or just get some edibles.
Yeah, get some edibles.
Yeah. And
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
It definitely will. And if you haven't seen this movie, do yourself a favor, check it out. You'll be really psyched to see an academic thriller.
Yeah.
Something that you don't see very often. And some really great performances. And it'll you may not love it, but you're not going to regret seeing it.
I like it more now than I did at the beginning of this podcast.
It's a way homer.
Yeah.
You get it on the way home.
Yeah. Yeah. Conversations. Have the conversations. That's
the thing. I miss seeing movies where you have discussions like this.
Right.
Where it is a deeper movie, where it's like a book club where you're going into the things that are, so many movies now are just surface. I'm really excited to see that new body horror movie with Demi Moore.
Oh, The
And
Substance.
Margaret Qualley.
Yeah, The Substance, yeah.
That looks really interesting to
Yeah.
me. That looks like something that's...
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to check that out. Yeah.
There are some great filmmakers coming out now that are
Mm-hmm.
making some really interesting, disturbing, and different work. And, I'm all for it. I love the indie spirit. Let's keep it going. And get yourself some Altered States.
Yeah. We'll be back next week. Our last movie for our body horror month.
Wurfen,
Wurfen.
as they say.
Very excited to see this movie. I don't know if it's going to be any good.
This is the one I am so excited to see. I love this movie so much as a kid. My sister and I bonded over this movie quite a bit. All three of these movies. Altered States not so much. But definitely Body Snatchers and definitely Wolfen were two of my sisters and I's kind of
Bond movie.
Bondy go-to movies.
Nice.
And I'm asking her to watch it too.
Nice.
So we can maybe talk to her about it. But yeah, I'm excited. I love Albert Finney and I love Gregory Hines.
Yes, yeah.
And Edward James Olmos.
He's
a weirdo in
It's
this.
going to be a very fun movie to talk about. So come back next week, give us a listen, and have a good one.
Yeah, when you get in your sensory deprivation tank, don't take your your hallucinogenics because you don't want to turn into a hairy guy running around hitting dogs and eating goats.
No.
But
I think Penglis makes the most sense.
I think it's Tau Penglis.
Tau, probably, because I don't think they really do the...
No, I know. It's all Greek to me.
Save for the show, Jim. Save for the show. What the
It's my new way of laughing.
Jim was slowly turning into a mystical energy. Screenplay is credited to the wow, I can't say that word.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Matlock, already in progress.